Hello everyone, in today's video we will set up our inventory UI. So inventory is something I haven't really looked at that much so far, but it's actually a really cool module. It allows for a lot. So we'll be setting that up today. We'll be integrating it in our advanced UI. So want to make sure it's fully integrated into an existing AI and not UI and not just some default. So everything is integrated, everything is functional. Now the inventory itself is hidden in a tab and will have the equipment visible by default because that's something I honestly like to do. So we'll change a couple of the visuals, we'll integrate it, and we'll mix things up a tiny bit. Now, in order to do this, you will need Unity, Game Creator, and the Inventory module. So let's dive in. Now, like I mentioned, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will be continuing where I left off with the Advanced UI tutorial. So I'm going to duplicate that one and rename it to Advanced UI. Let's add a little plus sign. Don't worry, I'm not going to completely copy everything Apple does when it comes to branding. It's just a bit easier to do it this way. Now, I'm going to hide the player UI. I'm not going to touch that right now. I know the new hotbar updates would actually have a place in the player UI. For now, I'm just going to focus on the actual normal inventory, simply because that is going to be more than enough work, really. So we have our default pause menu. We created this before. I already had a little inventory tab here. It just simply didn't do anything yet. So now is finally the time to finish this and actually have our inventory here. Now, what I'm going to do, and I'd really like to mention this, especially with some of the slightly different modules like dialogue inventory, it is so worth it to check out the example scenes, but never before was it as useful as it is with the inventory. It's quite amazing what you can do with the inventory module. It's a really cool module. I won't have the time to do it all in this video. There's simply way too much there. But yeah, it's honestly absolutely amazing module. Now I'm gonna go to this folder here and go to prefabs, and we'll have our inventory RPG equipment prefab. I'm going to grab this. It already has all of the basic stuff it needs in order to work, which is absolutely great. We are definitely going to modify this. We won't be using everything. We already have a menu, of course, so we only want a couple of these things to work. I'm going to drag it into user interfaces, and I'm going to go to, where are you? Oh yeah, was supposed to be a map at first, but then I changed my mind. So there we go, inventory, and I'm going to drag it in here. There we go, perfect. So this obviously a mess, cluttered. This is not how we're going to do it, but it is really useful to have it dragged in here. Here you will see inventory and etc. I'm going to unpack this prefab. There we go. And this floating item, which is, I honestly don't know what it is. Removing it didn't seem the smartest thing to do. So I just made it transparent because I don't want it to, well, do anything really. Going going to rename this to event content. Now it's been a while. Character content. There we go. The reason I'm renaming it to this is simply because I want to know what we're actually enabling, disabling once we're pressing our tabs. So just going to give everything a good name. Makes sense. Overview content, event content, all of this. Now, let me disable this and make sure our tabs are set up correctly. So here we have OV content, character content. Going to drag in event content. Might have actually done this in the original Advanced UI tutorial. I'm reusing the scene I had before that because I actually bought it to change all of the icons. So I didn't do that here. Maybe I already did that in the original tutorial. Honestly, can't really remember. But in case I didn't, I'm gonna go through these steps again. And there we go. There we go. So we're making sure that we're disabling everything if we're not actually going to press. I only want the inventory to be visible when I press on inventory. Now I know I had a couple of other things here, but we'll get to that later. Now let's collapse all of these, and we're just going to work with this one. Now, yeah, this is real big by default. I'm going to make this smaller. As you can see, it doesn't actually scale anything, which is, honestly, it's a really good thing. It doesn't. But yeah, just gonna keep it like that. Now we have equipment and inventory here, and all of our stuff. Now, as you can see, this is gonna create some animation, pop animation. I'm absolutely sure that's great. I don't want that. So I'm gonna drag this out, and I'm going to remove that entirely. Because yeah, I don't want some pop-up animation. So I'm already going to drag out equipment. I'm just going to make it a child of the pause menu and disable it for now. We'll have a look at that later. But that's not actually going to be part of, of our actual inventory. So now we have a background, which is nice. I'm not going to use the background at all, so I'm just going to completely delete that. We already have a background here. No need to have that, that many unnecessary items there. Now we have the inventory itself, which I'm going to drag down like this. And there we go. So inventory is going to be on that square. Now let me drag out actual header. It still needs to be part of that. Let me not overdo it here. So I'm going to drag down this header. Oh, I see it didn't actually align it up perfectly. Let me make sure I do. There we go. It's weird, sometimes UI stuff snaps, sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit annoying. Maybe this is right. Yeah, seems about right. Cool. Now let's drag that header. I'm going to drag it here. Now it seems to snap. I've no idea why. But cool. So yeah, this is about right. Now we have our source image, which is that default panel. I'm going to make sure it all looks the same as this one. So let me need to find the image. There we go. So 30% transparency, and this is the color. I'm going to simply copy that over. There we go. And there we have it. Now, don't worry, I'll resize all of this. But considering we're already doing that, I'm just going to make life a tiny bit easy. Skip ahead so I don't have to do this again. So square, because later I'll be doing the same with this. So still have it copied. There we go. And disable it again. Sorry for the jumping around, but just seemed to make more sense to do it straight away. Now, where were we? We have our header, which is part of, is going to be part of this look. Again, if you want to, I'll say this now, if you want this header to always be there, no matter if you actually click on inventory or not, just drag it out like I did with equipment, and that's literally it. I don't want it, it's going to be too cluttered, I don't need to see all of that by default, but completely up to you. Now in the header we're going to change a couple of things, so let's change this one. I think it's coins. Yeah, there we go. Wow, coins. That's a decent image. It's not really that sharp though, so there we go, low resolution. Let's grab this resolution. There we go, coins. Maybe this is overkill, I don't know. There we go, that looks a lot better. My default text is all 30 big, so normally this, you think that would be fine, but it just looks too big, so I'm just gonna make it 25. I don't want it to be yellow, just want it to be white. That's it. I'm going to drag these out of the header, and I'm going to remove the background. I don't want the background. We already have one, but if you want to have boxes for this, please, keep the background, change it to whatever you want. I like it to be slightly cleaner, so I'm just going to drag it out. There we go. Seems about right. Here we have our inventory item. Going to use the backpack, 128. There we go. And again, I'm using some icons I have from something else. If you don't have any other icons, I would recommend getting other icons. But if you don't want to do that right now, just keep the items, resize them to something you like, etc. And that's it. It's annoying. There we go. And we have our weight text. There you are. Yeah, seems about right. Not really sure. Now I'm going to remove close because we don't need this. Close would normally close down the UI, but we already did that, so no need for duplication. Now this menu is not something you can just drag out. It actually does a couple of things, which is pretty nice. Going to increase spacing a bit. So yeah, a couple of things going on here. So weight 100, width 205. As you can see, I can change the height, but I can't change the width. That's because of the layout groups. Now I could just make this 80. There we go. And then these need to be 80 as well. There we go. Now I'm going to change these icons as well. Again, you don't have to do that. I just like it to be slightly different. So potion, which one? 4 seems nice. Not sure which one I used in the other one, but that's fine. And swords. There we go, swords. Looks pretty much exactly the same. Fine. So we're gonna change these looks as well. So the important thing here is that you have different states. So what happens once it's pressed, highlighted, and the default. So this one by default is pressed. That's a good thing to remember. Now I have something that looks alright. Button controls outlines, there we go. So yeah, I think these look alright. So I'm gonna do hover when it's pressed. Not really sure what I used last time, but yeah, I'll just use that. And outlined when it's not. And then do the same here. But yeah, this is going to be the other way around, so by default it's not pressed. And there we go. Cool. Now all we did here is, you know, just move some stuff around and, you know, make it work somehow. But the most important part here is, so yeah, the header, all fine. I think I exaggerated a tiny bit when moving this into a tiny little corner. Don't like the look of that. So I'll just move it like this. There we go. And I'll move this as well. Don't know why those text boxes are that big anyway. Cool. That looks alright. Now the important part here is the inventory. So these are buttons that activate something to happen in the inventory. And the inventory has container items. Now you will see this being pretty low. That's because the header was supposed to be above this. We've removed it, so we're gonna drag this up and have this entire square be the container. I'm going to quickly replace that scroll bar to something else. Right. Now I have slider buttons, but for some reason they look absolutely horrible. I'm not really sure why. So I'm just going to use this one. There we go. This looks fine. Maybe that's a bit much in the corner there. Yeah, that's fine. So now this entire space will be, this is the viewport, so that contains all of the items here. Now by default the icons will be really big, which is a bit weird. I don't know if they're supposed to be that big. Just going to change that to 0.5. Should have done that before resizing actually. And yeah, we're going to place it in the same place again. Now yes, I could go ahead and change all of the icons to be smaller, but you know, this is a shortcut which, I don't know, it works. So I could make this a bit smaller, but I'm fine with it. It can be big, that's okay. I'm going to make it a tiny bit smaller. Is that possible? No. There we go. That's better. So yeah, This will work, you know, I'll show you in a bit, but basically this will automatically populate everything in the inventory. Now, I went ahead and made it, you know, scaled it down to 50 in terms of resolution, just to make sure everything is by default smaller. You don't have to do that, but I honestly think the default icons are simply gigantic, so keeping it a bit small. Now, next up is equipment. Now we disabled this. So let me, even content, let me turn that off, because by default it should all be turned off unless you want one to be active by default. That's completely up to you. Now here we have our equipment window. I'm going to drag that. It's going to be here. Seems like it's almost even the perfect size, isn't it? Yeah, maybe it is. Or maybe I can change with this, mess with the scale as well. It's one reason not to mess with the scale too much, but that's fine. Going to do it like this. Going to make this a hell of a lot. Oh no, I'm going to make the entire inventory a hell of a lot smaller. Going to be aligned with this. Okay. Cool. So here we have a similar container like we saw in the header. I'm going to change this one, so by default we'll have a vertical layout group, which, you know, is fine if you only have 3 items here and big icons. But I imagine you want to expand this inventory, have more options, or, well, maybe just add the one. So, but if you're going full Skyrim RPG and you want to have different slots for, you know, headgear, feet, boots, whatever, I imagine you want to add several. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this container. So I'm going to remove the vertical layout group. Well, look for group, and we're going to go with grid layout. Now, grid layout, let me drag out this a bit. There we go. The grid layout will allow for multiple to be next to each other, but obviously they need to be the right size. So let's do middle, center. Maybe 85 is a bit small. 80 is a bit small. Let's do 85. Still need to change the icons, and these icons actually have a cutout, mine don't, so maybe I should try it out first. So let's actually go with 80. That's fine. Going to add some spacing. There we go. Now I'm going to replace these images as well. Actually going to change the order. Now the great thing with having a container like this is you simply have to drag it like this and the order will be changed. So you don't actually have to move images around, which is pretty cool. It's definitely a recommended use in UIs. So yeah, that's pretty nice. It keeps it organized. So I'm going to have left, right hand, and then, you know, head, and this would be, I don't know what. Now we need to change some of the images. I'm still here, so that's nice. Outline button. Can't really remember what I was using here. So let's have the normal slot be down this time. Yeah. Now need to make sure that unequipped is the same as down, so this is what you'll see by default. Hover and outlined. going to do this order with my images, obviously. So, you know, if you have your own images, be creative, you know, find something that looks nice for you. Just going to keep it like this, drag these all, and there we go, and the last one as well. Now this normal here is basically only just to see what it will look like. You won't actually ever see this one because one of these states by default is always active. So this is just to get an impression of what it looks like, and that's pretty much all. And there we have it. Cool. So all of these, I'm going to keep the images for now. I changed it in my original. I changed this icon with something else, but then I realized I didn't have any icons for hands, or so yeah, not that great if you know they're not the same shading. So I'm just going to keep them like this. Really, really dark for some reason, but that's fine. Just going to keep it like this. So here we have all of our defaults all set up. Equipment is completely standalone of the rest of the inventory. Obviously they work together, but they're not activated together, which is personally how I like it. I'm going to activate this again. Going to hit play and see where we are right now. I really have to turn off that cinematic intro stuff. Anyway, I'm going to press escape. So yeah, here we have you know, our default. I'm going to change the background straight after this. Testing this, can't really see much. So overview character and then inventory populates all of this. Now this will change tabs, but obviously there's nothing here to actually pick up, so we can't see if that works. Once you press resume, by the way, and you open it again, the last remaining tab will remain open. So that's pretty nice if you know someone wants to be in the inventory a lot. You don't have to set it as the default. It will stay there. Now we have these slots here, we have our inventory here. This might still be too big, honestly, I'm not really sure, but that's fine. So yeah, cool. Now let's quickly change that background because it's kind of annoying now. It's way too light. Maybe black is not even the best option. I should have done white. Black just looks nicer. And well, at least everything is really visible now, so you know that's good. Cool. Now we need to make sure we can pick something up as well. We need to make sure that actually works, and it's not just you know pretty visuals. So let's do that now. Go to our player, and again, I'm not going to go through too deep on how the inventory system works. Not in this video anyway. I'll be doing several inventory videos simply because I mean there's so much content in inventory really. Quite blown away by how much there is. I think it's example, no, not memory. Examples, utilities. I think there's a potion, there we go, potion prefab. Nice, so it activates on a single click. I'm going to change that to on player enter. So once the player walks over the potion, it will be added to the inventory. I'm not using like a point and click, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense to use the mouse to pick something up for me. So let's hit play. Oh god, I forgot to turn off that cinematic again. Cool, so we're gonna pick this up. We're gonna open up our inventory and we'll see our potion here. Now, it's not super sharp, and that's most likely because I used the scaling option, and I should have tried to experiment a bit, or can change the icons as well. But yeah, it works. Has a beautiful sound effect as well. Um, and that's it really. That's everything we need to do to make the inventory part of our normal UI. Now, you can do this several ways. You can experiment. I just wanted to show how easy it actually was to make sure the inventory is part of your UI. Now, one thing that needs to be added in order for inventory items to properly work is one small thing, and definitely don't forget that. On your character, you need to add inventory manager. No, that's not it. Can't remember the name. Player something. Player equipment. There we go. So this saves the equipment information. It's necessary if you want to mess around with weapons, armor, all of that good stuff. Didn't seem necessary for potions. I actually thought it wouldn't work. So for potions, apparently it's not necessary, but just add this. You'll need it. So yeah, just add that. But that's it really. That's the inventory UI. Next time we'll actually dig into how to setting up our own items, so the inventory doesn't have any guns, for example, by default. So we'll be adding guns. We'll go over how to equip everything. And I'm going to use guns as an example because a lot of people will have the shooter module. But obviously the same will work with swords, but swords are already in there by default, so didn't seem necessary to cover that really. So cool. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.